Well, hey everybody, my name is Kent. I'm lead pastor here at Epic. I'm so glad that you are at church today. In fact, everybody here at Parkside, do me a favor, help me welcome everybody who's watching from our other locations, yeah? Fairmount, Roxborough, Center City, love you guys. So glad you are at church today as well. It's gonna be a great, great day. Hey, listen, I gotta take just a second real quick and just brag on what happened yesterday at our volunteer leadership conference. It was so good. Wait, who was there? Come on. It was so good. We had so much fun. And listen, I'm just so impressed that so many of you showed up to spend the day learning and growing as leaders. Such a big deal. And also, if it's your first time here, if you're here for the first time, you need to know this. You are seated amongst some of the finest people in this city. And by fine, I mean great. Like some of the greatest people you can know go to one of our churches. Yeah. And I also mean fun, because we're some fly-looking people at this church. You should know that. That is true, right? Yeah. So one of the things that I love about us is that together, and we talked a lot about this yesterday at our conference, together we're on this mission to help change what people think of whenever they think about church. Man, we want what happens here on a Sunday morning, we want this to be the most significant, the most meaningful hour in a person's whole week. And we'll do whatever it takes to make sure that happens, and we'll do whatever it takes to keep getting better at that over time. In fact, one of the ways that we get better as a church is by learning from other churches. And one of the churches that we've learned a ton from over the past few years is a church in Atlanta called North Point, which is led by Andy Stanley. In fact, here's a picture of me with Andy. And this is a lot of fun. This is from this past November. We had dinner together, and I got to share with him all about you, tell him all about our church, tell him all about what you guys are doing, all about the different locations, and everything that's happening here in Philadelphia. Now, our church is actually a partner church with North Point Ministries. And so we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff with them in the future. In fact, in particular, this fall, we're going to be doing some fun stuff together, specifically something called Be Rich, which you don't know about yet, but you're going to know about it, and you're going to love it. It's going to be awesome. So really excited about that. But recently, I heard Andy share a message with his church about the importance of every single person having a plan for how they're going to support their church financially. And I thought that this message that he gave was so good. I thought, man, we need to talk about this at Epic. Like, we definitely need to talk about this. And so today, we're going to kind of hit pause on the series that we've been in, OMG, the God I Wish You Knew. We're going to hit pause on that series because I thought that Andy did such a great job, such a masterful job talking about this, that we're just going to take literally like 24 minutes of his message, and we're just going to watch that because it was so good. I didn't think I could do it any better. So I'm like, let's just watch that. And then afterwards, I'm going to circle back and try to connect some of the dots for us here at Epic. And I know what some of you are thinking, wait. Is this like in high school when you show up to class and the teacher just puts on a video? You know what I'm saying? It's like you just didn't prepare. Is that what's going on? No, that's not what this is. I really thought that this was just so good that it would be beneficial for us just to take the time one Sunday to listen in on this conversation. I think it'll be significant for all of us, and I think it'll be super, super helpful. So, without further ado, help me welcome my friend, Andy Stanley.
I want to talk to just that percentage of you who would say that you really, 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 really love your church, or love, if you're part of one of our churches, you really love your church. You love what we're doing with our students. We're impacting a generation of high school kids and middle school kids. You love the fact that your husband likes to come here because we get you out on time, because men, as soon as men walk into an event where there are rows, men turn to their wives or their girlfriends or their parents and say, how long is this going to last? I mean, I get that. That's what I want to know. Anytime I go to a recital, one of our kids' thing, unless it's a baseball game, I want those to go forever. But it was like, how long? So we get you out on time. You love that. You love the quality. You might even love the music. I met a guy the other night at our fight club, our fight event the other night. He said, Andy, honestly, I came here for a while. I couldn't stand the music. Went back to my traditional church and found that to be a little bit too quiet. Came back and I've acquired a taste for it. I said, yes, like unsweetened iced tea. Or in your case, beer. But anyway, so you're even to the point where you like the music. You like the communication style. You like the facility. You like the fact that we put it online so you can stay home. You like the volunteer opportunities. You like the people you met. You've liked your small group. I mean, honestly, you've gotten to the place where, you may not use this word, but you really, really, and I just want to talk to those of you who'd say, I really love my church. I love the baptism videos. I love my church. I want to talk to those of you who love your church, but you do not have a plan, and this is the key word today, you do not have a plan for financially supporting the church you love, okay? I just want to talk to those of you who'd say, oh, I love it. Now, if you don't love it, this isn't for you. If you're here for the first time, this is like a first date. So you're not in love. This is like a first date. We hope you fall in love, and we're going to invite you in, which I don't, suggest on a first date. But if this is like your first date or second date, this isn't for you. You can just kind of sit and be comfortable. But if you've been coming for a long time, member, a regular attender, and you say, I love my church, but you do not have a plan. I don't mean that you don't put $5 in the bucket, and it's kind of that guilt money as it comes by, or that, when there's like a hurricane relief, you're all about that. Be rich, you're all about that. When there's a tragedy or there's some special event, we're raising money for a special event, you're all about that. But you don't have a plan. In other words, if I were to say to you, over coffee, or if I were to say to you, hey, what is your plan for financially supporting your local church? If you don't have a plan, you're not a percentage giver, you haven't decided on an amount of money, you haven't gone online and signed up for, that auto thing where we'll just take it right out of your checking account, so you don't show up on Sunday with your check written, you don't, go to ATM and have that a cash. There's no plan. You love our church, you give every once in a while, but you don't have a plan. That's who I want to talk to for just a few minutes. Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions because it's going to get a little tense here for a minute. What do you call a father who says, I love my children, but I don't give them any money. I don't support them. If they beg me, if they are down to a sock, if they're just looking, their hair is just so bad. if it gets really desperate and I feel like my kids need money and they convince me they need money, then I'll give them some money. What do you call a father who says, no, I love my kids, but I only support them financially when they're just desperate? You call that a bad dad. That's what you call that, right? He says he loves them, but he won't support them financially. That's a bad dad. What do you call a Christian who says, I love my church. Oh, I love my church. I love my church. I love my church. What my church does for me. I love what my church provides for me. I love what my church does for my kids. I love the fact that my wife will come. I love the fact that it's not really Catholic and it's not really Baptist or Presbyterian. It's kind of nothing. My church is kind of nothing. So we all fit there. I love my church, but I don't support them financially on a regular basis unless it gets desperate. What do you call that person? You call them an average Christian. Because that's what average Christians do. They do. This is statistically shown. This isn't just us. This is just, all churches. And here's the thing, and you know this, okay, you've been coming for a while. I don't want you to be average. I don't want you to have average marriages. You don't want to raise average kids. I don't want you to have average jobs. I don't want you to have average passion in life about what you do. I don't even want you to take average vacations, I don't want you to be average. I want you to be way above average, and you want to be way above average. And I don't like the fact that this is going to be hard for you to believe, and don't get suspicious, but about 70% of the people who are regular attenders or members of our churches all over the city, about 70% do not support our churches financially on a regular basis. 70%. Now, when I look at that, I got to tell you, first of all, it hurts my feelings, okay? It does. I'm like, all I do for you, and it's like, oh, I love our church. I'm not going to give any money. What do you think this is? So it kind of hurts my feelings. Then I move past that. And then I think, you know what? I've just been a terrible leader. Obviously, the fact that we're kind of in this 70-30, at least it's not 80-20, at least we're 70-30. But there's about 70% of you who are signed up for stuff, come to stuff, say this is my church, got your kids enrolled, you're in small group. About 70% of you do not support any of our local churches on any kind of regular basis. Now that just needs to stop. Because let me tell you, okay, look, I know we're talking about money. It's okay. And if you invited your friend, you're like, oh no. But your friends need to hear this. This is because what I'm about to say in a few minutes is so embarrassing, they're just going to bug you about it maybe the rest of your life. So you deserve that you invited them today, okay? Unless you're in the 30% club, all right? Here's the deal. So the fact that we're able to do what we do with just 30% of you being a part financially it's really remarkable. Now, let me move on. Okay, there's basically, and I've been doing this a long, long time. Okay, so this 70-30 thing isn't a total shock, but I look at those statistics year after year after year, and I go, come on, we're better than that. Because I know you love our church. I know you do. I mean, there's some of you who don't, but you're here. You keep consuming and consuming and consuming. So basically, there's 3 reasons why a person who loves their church doesn't have a plan. There's basically 3 reasons why somebody who would say, no, I really love my local church. I'm so glad that church is in the community. I'm so glad they're there. There's only about 3 reasons a person would say, I love my church and not, have a plan for supporting them financially. The first one is simply this. They just haven't thought of it before. They never thought about, I need a plan. So for some of you, we're done. That's it. You thought of it now. I helped you think of it. Okay, just put a check in that box and your life should be different from this point. It's like, Andy, honestly, I just thought, the bucket comes by and I put some money there. I never thought about having a plan. You need to have a plan. See, this is a very fair question. I wouldn't shrink back no matter how long you've been a Christian, or if you're not even a Christian and you attend a local church, I'd look you right in the eye, I wouldn't blink, and I'd say, hey, this is a fair question. What's your plan for supporting your local church financially? I'm not embarrassed to ask you that. What's your plan? I'm not just asking you how much. I'm not even telling you what to do yet, okay? I've done that before, but that's not what today's about. I wouldn't hesitate at all to say, what is your plan for supporting your local church? You should have an answer to that question, especially if you love your church. You just hadn't thought about it before. So that's number 1, taking care of that. Number 2, they just haven't taken time to create a plan. You hear a message like this, or you're already sitting here going, yeah, you're right. I do. It's kind of spontaneous. It's, hey, so however much cash I have, or if I think about it the night before, or at the end of the year, I'm feeling kind of generous, or if I get a bonus, I write a check. But you're right, Andy. I should have a plan, and I just haven't taken the time to set up a plan. Now, if you have been attending here for any length of time, you know how I feel about this, and you know what I teach you about this. I don't want you to simply have, a plan for giving. I want you to have a triple plan because I care about you. I want you to have a savings plan, okay? And some of you have that built in. Some of you never see money. It just goes away because you're not disciplined enough to save it. So you just never see it. It just goes right over into your 401k or 401(b) or whatever how your savings thing works. And then I want you to have a spending plan, okay? AKA a budget, right? I want you to have a saving plan. I want you to have a spending plan. And because I'm your pastor and love you, I want you to have a giving plan. Now, you know what? A lot of you have one of these. I hope you do. That's just part of being responsible, right? And I know all of you have one of these. It may not be written down, but we could look at your credit card stubs, your checking account, and you've got some sort of plan. I mean, it's going out, right? You have a plan. You need to have a giving plan. You need to sit down and decide, how am I going to support my local church? It's a fair question. If you don't have the triple plan, here's what's going to happen. Here's where some of you are. You're going to save too little, you're going to spend too much, and you're going to give leftovers. You know what? If you're going to invite somebody over to your house, you do not serve leftovers, unless you're my wife, because they're better than what most people cook. We can do that. But you're the average cook, you're just bragging. You're just not going to serve people leftovers. And the truth is, and I'm not just getting on your case. I mean, I thought we were better than this. We're not yet. We're about to be. Is that most Christians, it's not just us, most Christians who say they really love their church give whatever's left over. Look in their wallets, what I got left over. Look in the checking account. Hey, we can't afford to do anything this month, maybe next month. We ate it all up. We consumed it all. Hey, but the good news is, whether we give or not, that church is going to be there, that pastor's going to speak, and they're going to take care of my kids. So I can just give leftovers. If you were to ask me, Andy, give me like the 15-second version of how I should manage my money, I would give it to you. I would write a book on this, but the book would be so short and there would be no point in reading it. I can give you the whole plan on a 3x5 card. I want you to give, I want you to save, and I want you to live. That's it. This is the way a Christian manages their finances. They give first, they save second, and then you live on what's left over. Now here's what I know about everybody in the room and everybody watching. If you're 35 years or older, you wish you could go back to when you were 20-something and give first, save second, and live on what's ever left over. Because you'd have more money. You would have more money. You would have wasted less money. You would have spent less money on dumb things. So this isn't just about the church getting your money. It's really not. It's not even about the church needing your money. We'll talk about that just a second. I want you to be great Christians. And so you need to have an answer to the question, what's my plan for financially supporting the church that I love? A bunch of you, several thousands of you are using this program that we set up a few years ago because some people ask us to. If you go to npmgive.org, I really resisted this. I really did. Our finance department would come to me and say, Andy, people want us to do this. I'm like, I'm not sure it's a great idea. So we finally relented about 2.5 years ago. npmgive.org, you can just go up and we'll just do what your company does. We'll just take the money right out of your checking account every month, okay? You just tell us how much you want to come out, you'll never see it. And for some people, this is the only way they can be disciplined enough to give money to a local church. So we'll do that for you. You just go there, click on that website, and it'll give you all 5 of our Atlanta area campuses. You click a campus and give a one-time gift, or you can say, hey, every month I want you to take so many dollars out of my checking account. We'll do that for you. But the thing is, you need to have a plan. You need a savings plan, you need a spending plan, and you need a giving plan. What's your plan for financially supporting the local church that you love? That's a fair question. And the rest of you, the other 70%, come on. Come up with a plan. Now, here's the one I really want to talk about because this is kind of funny to me and weird and strange. The other reason that people don't give to a church they love, especially a church like one of our churches, is this. Number 3, is they don't think their church needs the money. Now, if you've been daydreaming, I really need your undivided attention. If you're at home watching, put whatever that is away and turn off the television. Just for a few minutes. This is very important. Now, if you're not a Christian or you're not a church person or you're kind of new to this, you already think Christians are a little bit irrational, and I understand that. You think we're a little bit strange. You're not even sure why you're here today. Somebody promised you lunch, or you'll meet somebody cute, or you just got caught in the traffic, and the whole Christianity thing is a little bit doo-doo-doo-doo, and I understand that, okay? Because I am one, I've been one a long time. We believe some strange things. But what I'm about to tell you will confirm your suspicions that there is an irrational thread woven throughout Christianity. So here's why I'm setting it up. If you're not a Christian, if you're not a religious person, if you're not a person who would identify with, Christianity in any way, all I would ask is that what I'm about to share next, that you not share outside this room. We already look bad enough as it is in some quarters of our culture. What I'm about to share now may just push people over the top in terms of how they view Christians, okay? So would you do that for me? Now, here's the problem with this. Some of you who don't have a plan for supporting the church you love used to go to a different church. And at that different church, that church needed your money. And the way you know they needed your money is because what do they talk about all the time? What do they talk about all the time? Money. It's like every time they take the offering, it's like the pastor would do a mini sermon. And sometimes, some of you went to churches, they took up 2 offerings. And then it's Pastor Appreciation Month. And then it's the pastor's birthday. And then it's this thing, and it's that thing, and then we got to buy a new roof, and then we need this and the carpet. And it looked like they were always looking for an excuse to have a special offering, and there were envelopes, and they just talked about money all the time. And do you know what you did in those churches? You gave because you kind of felt guilty, and it's like they'd call you, and you had pledge cards about every year you had how much are you going to give, and they just talked about money every Sunday, just about, and you got tired of it. Now you gave, but you weren't a happy giver, you weren't a cheerful giver. You were a here we go again giver, And so you attended that church and you just didn't like it. And it was very clear, this church needs money. This church needs my money. And then you got sick of it. It's like, I'm not doing that anymore. Especially your husband. It's like, all they want's our money. It's all they talk about. And they're always manipulating and praying. And then if you give God 1, he'll give you 10, Ever been in one of those churches? That's just so silly, okay? If you really believe that, you'd go ahead and give God 10. And ask the pastor, how many did you give God to get 10? And the whole thing's just so silly. So there's all kind of weird stuff in church about money, and so you kind of got tired of that whole thing. So you left the church that needed your money and you came to one of our churches. And it's like, wow, they don't need my money. Obviously, they never talk about it. It's just so weird the way we do it. It's like we sing these songs, have a baptism video, talk about small group. It's so emotional. And then the worship leader, who you don't know, gets up and says, and now our guest services folks are going to come and take the offering. Let's say a little prayer. Next thing you know, it's like, what did he say? I don't even know. And then there's a bucket going through and it's over. And then we're on with the show and you're like, wow, you know? Or, you know, the real hardcore press around here. I mean, this is tough. The lead pastor gets up and he comes out and he says, hey, did you see that amazing baptism video? I just want you to know, thank you for your generosity. And you're sitting there going, well, I haven't given a dime. He ain't talking to me. So there must be a whole bunch of generous people around here and everything seems to be working fine. They don't need my money. And then we take up the offering. This is the best part, okay? And this thing comes around, right? And they hand it to you and you look in there and you go, and you're like, oh, that's gross. And you look at the $8.92, and then you look at all of our lights and cameras and the facility, and you look at all the hallways and what we're doing with kids, and then you're looking at this bucket, and here's what you're thinking. I understand this. You're going, okay, there's something going on here. Because there ain't no way that this pays for all this. You ever had that thought? Don't raise your hand. I have it every single week. I'm like, I understand that. Okay, you kind of look in there and you kind of put your 5 in there and it doubles the money. It's like, I don't know how they do this. And so you're smart. Come on, you are smart people. You're smart. And here's what happens. I understand this. So you assume, you know what, there's something I don't know. Because that ain't paying for it. And yet I don't, everything, the lights are always on, everything's fun. They gave t-shirts, good grief, they give out more t-shirts than Gap, so what? It's like, obviously there's a lot of money floating around here and it's coming from somewhere and it ain't coming from those silly buckets, I know that. So this church doesn't need my money to the point where I'm not even sure why they take an offering. It's just loud and there's no money in there. So you just assume, you just confirm your suspicion. I don't need to have a giving plan for this church. This church doesn't need my money. Now, here's the irrational part that I hope doesn't leave the room. Do I have everybody's attention? Okay, this isn't much of a sermon, but it's interesting, okay? So here's how all this comes together. So here we go. You don't want to attend a church that needs your money. You don't, because it's just awful. It's like everything's breaking and they're negative and, we're not going to do this and, we're not going to do that. And the thing is, you're smart people, you're business people. If a church or any organization's constantly on the edge of going out of business, they're just being managed poorly. That's it. It's bad leadership. You know that. That's why you really don't, even if you've never thought about it before, you do not want to attend a church that constantly needs your money. So you don't. So you came to one of ours. And you won't give to a church that doesn't need your money. Which means you never plan to give to a church you actually attend. Now, what am I supposed to do with that? I only have a couple options. I can get all the lead pastors together and say, okay, guys, we need to create a crisis. Forget your budget, just spend all the money. Let's be irresponsible. Let's spend us into oblivion. And then we can get up on Sundays and go, now, folks, friends. And we can get up and tell you some sad stories. Do you want us to be able to change diapers? Or do you want to smell poop in the hall, Do you want to take care? Don't you care about children and babies? Don't you want us to be able to mow the lawn? Don't you want to be able to pay the pastor and the staff? We could create an artificial crisis, but the thing is, after a few weeks of that, you'd go to another church that doesn't need your money where you don't give. So you have a real dilemma. If you're going to attend a church that doesn't, quote, need your money, then you've got to come up with a giving plan to support the church that doesn't need your money. Now, here's the other thing that's just crazy about this. Let me ask you a question. Do you do business with companies that need your money or provide great goods and services? Do you do business with companies that need your money or companies that provide quality goods and services? When you heard years ago that Circuit City was going out of business and Circuit City was bankrupt, they were having trouble, did you call your friends and family together and say, okay, don't go to Best Buy, don't go to Fry's, and don't go to Amazon. We're buying all of our electronics from Circuit City. No, you went, sucks to be them. You didn't feel like, we gotta go, but we gotta spend our money with companies that need our money. So here's my question. Why would you treat Disney and Starbucks better than your church? Let me ask you a question. If your marriage hits a bump, you need help, you gonna call Mickey? Your middle schooler gets in trouble. Your middle schooler won't listen to mom. Your middle schooler won't listen to dad. You need another adult pouring into the life of your middle schooler. You gonna call Howard? You gonna call Cupertino, California, ask for Tim on your iPhone? You're gonna show up at the church you love. And here's something that's pretty cool. When you show up at the church you love and you're in need and you have a crisis, we do not check your giving record because it's irrelevant. Because we're the church. Why would anyone who loves their church give more money to Disney, and I'm not against Disney, or to anything, or to give money to all those companies that provide wonderful goods and services, and then you come to a church you love and say, well, since they don't need it, I'm not gonna give it. That's just irrational. I mean, that's crazy. So stop it. Or, if you're a Christian, go to a church that needs your money. Till you're so tired of it, you come back and say, I just can't stand it anymore. Now, here's the surprise. We actually do need the other 70% of you to come up with a giving plan to support the church you love. We do need your money, but we don't need your money to pay the power bill. The other 30% covered that. We don't need your money to pay the staff. The other 30% cover that. We don't need your money just to do what you see being done on your campus. But we have never been a church that's all about a piece of real estate or a campus. We are committed to creating churches unchurched people love to attend, so that in the United States of America, when people think church, they think yes rather than no. When people think church, they think they're for us rather than they want something from us. We are on a mission to change the way Americans view church so that we can change the way Europeans view church, the way Canadians view church, the way the world views the church. And in order to do that, we got to have everybody who loves their church engage with their body and engage with their money. Not so we can pay the electric bill. Plus, you don't want to give money to pay the electric bill anyway. Some of you told me that. Well, I just don't like to give money, to just keep things going. I like to give special things, to which I don't say it, but I would like to look at you and go, that's because you think you're special. You think your more money is important than my money, okay? I don't say that. Now, here's the thing. Since I'm on a rant, okay? It's not much of a sermon, but it's interesting, isn't it? Okay.
Wasn't that so good? So friends, no, I'm just kidding. So Andy goes on in this talk, and he goes on to talk about some things that are very specific to their church down in Atlanta. And so I wanted to jump back in at this point. I want to tell you about some things that are very specific to our church here in Philadelphia. And I want to start by telling you a little bit of a story. 8 years ago, we had a dream, and our dream was to start a church that was completely different than any of the churches that we grew up in. Our dream was to start a church that was the kind of place where everyone was welcome. I mean, the kind of place where anyone could walk through the doors and hear a message that wasn't boring, that wasn't irrelevant, that actually made sense, that was meaningful, that was helpful. We didn't want anything weird to happen. We were like, can we just have a church where weird stuff doesn't happen? That would be nice. We had this dream of creating the kind of place where people left knowing that being there really made a difference in their life. Like being a church actually mattered, that it wasn't just some kind of box that you checked on some list that you had and I did my duty, but no, it was something that was so important to you because it was meaningful. It wasn't a box, it was a great thing that you looked forward to every single week. We wanted to create the kind of place where people could come in and be challenged and encouraged to really live out their faith in meaningful ways. But most of all, we wanted to create the kind of place where people who are far from God could come and discover that they didn't have to be. That God was for everybody. And listen, whenever we started our church here in Philadelphia, it wasn't about starting another church in this city, because Lord knows this city doesn't need another church. There's one on every corner. What Philadelphia needed was a different kind of church, right? So that was our hope. And so we had this great dream about this great church, but we had no money. No money. And God used this one generous guy to give us a check for $60,000. And all of a sudden, that dream that we had a shot at coming true. Without that check, that dream had no shot. But all of a sudden, because of that check, that dream had a shot of coming true. And so we started the church. We started a movie theater over in Manayunk. And a bunch of people started coming. And some of the people who showed up were Christians, and some of them weren't. And so I told all these people, I just told them about this dream that we had. Hey, we want to create a place that's for everybody. And some of the people who came, got on board with that and believed in it, and so they started to give. And they gave so that they could see that dream come true. And it wasn't just that. Actually, back in these days, the reason they gave is so that we could meet the next week too. It was like, I don't know if we're going to be here next week. Got to count the offering. But some people got it. Some people early on were like, yeah, that's what Philadelphia needs, a different kind of churches. So they began to give so they could see that dream come true. And what was so cool is more and more people started to come. And what was really neat, this is really cool, some of the people who came, and when they came, they weren't Christians, all of a sudden their lives began to be changed. And their lives were changed by Jesus. And then they were baptized. And the very first person that we baptized in our church is this guy named Jason Delmuth. And he served, it's so fun, he served on our production team for like 7 years. Now he lives in California and he works for Google. So if you want a job with Google, you should serve on our production team. That's how that works, all right? So more and more people started coming, and eventually we ran out of space in the movie theater. And then I just stood up in front of everybody, and I just told everybody, I said, listen, guys, I think this dream that we have is too big for just one location. And a bunch of people got on board with that. And a bunch of people gave some money so that we could start a second location in Center City over at the Suzanne Roberts Theater, yeah? And we did that. We gave the money in hopes of seeing this dream come true. So a bunch of us gave money. We started the location there. A bunch of people started coming. A bunch of people's lives were changed by Jesus. And then we ran out of space again. And so a bunch of us got together and we gave some money so that we could start a third location over at Roxborough High School, right? And the reason why we gave the money wasn't just to start another location. The reason why we gave the money was because we just wanted to see more and more of this dream come true. And so we gave and we opened up a location and a bunch of people started coming. And guess what happened? A bunch of their lives were changed by Jesus. That's what happened. And a bunch of those people got on board and more people started to give. And we said, oh no, what are we going to do? Because we started running out of room again. And then we said, okay, let's start a location in Fairmount. We went over to the Franklin Learning Center and we started renting that location. And a bunch of people got on board with the vision. And the reason why they gave to start this wasn't just to start another location. The reason why they gave to start this is because they wanted to see more and more of that dream come true. And it does. Like a bunch of people started showing up. And a bunch of their lives have been changed by Jesus. And then we moved to Parkside. And more people have been coming, and more of their lives have been changed. Now that's the story of our church. And here's what I want to say, though. Somewhere in that story that I just told is you. Like somewhere in that story that I just told is your story. Your story intersects that story at some point, right? Think about when it is. And I want to ask you a question. Aren't you so glad that someone that you never knew was willing to give so that your part of this dream could come true? Aren't you so glad that somebody you never knew was willing to give so that your part of this dream could come true? You know what the 30% of us who've paid for all of this, all these different locations, all the stuff that goes along with it, you know what they have that I think everyone else doesn't have? I know what you're thinking. They must have extra money. That's what they have. No. You know what they have? They have vision. They have vision. They understand that their giving plays a really, really big part in this dream coming true. That without any giving, that dream doesn't stand a chance. But with the giving, the dream does stand a chance. In fact, we've said it this way: the fulfillment of our vision moves at the speed of our willingness to be generous. And we say that because it's true. It's true. And 8 years have passed, and here's what we've seen. Thousands and thousands of people have walked through our doors and experienced church like this. And they left thinking differently about church, and they left thinking differently about God as a result. Thousands and thousands of people have come walk through one of our doors at one of our churches, and they've left saying, you know what, I think I need to start a relationship with God. I didn't even know I could, but I think I want to. I think I need to. Or they said, I really need to restart a relationship with God. Thousands and thousands of people would say that the entire trajectory of their life has changed because of what happened when they walked through the doors of one of our locations. Get this, hundreds and hundreds of our kids get to grow up in a church that they love. Can you believe that? Like, they don't even know any better. They think this is normal. They think, of course they would have a drink for me and orange juice and some donut holes. And of course the teacher would be amazing. And of course it would be fun. Fun? Are you kidding me? When you went to church when you were little, was it fun? No. Did it make sense? No. Could you understand it? No. Did you want to go back? No. But our kids, they don't know any different. They get to grow up in this. And here's one thing I think is really cool. At a time in our history when race relations are fragile at best, and Sunday morning is the most segregated hour in America, you have created 4 churches in Philadelphia where that is not so. And all that's just with 30% of us giving regularly and significantly. Just 30% of us. Listen, what could happen if the other 70% of us just created a plan to financially support the church that we love? What could happen? I'll tell you what could happen. That dream could come true. And not just for those of us that have been lucky enough to walk through some of these doors so far, but that dream that we have for every person in the city could come true for every person in the city. Listen, if you don't create a plan to support the church that you love, let me tell you what's going to happen. The 30% of us are still going to make sure the lights stay on. We're still going to make sure that we do what we do. We're still going to make sure that we're able to move forward toward that dream coming true for more and more people, because people matter and because we believe with all of our hearts that the church is the hope of the world. We just won't be able to do those things nearly as fast or nearly as effectively as we would hope. It's just going to take longer. Don't you want things to go further faster? Like, isn't this the kind of thing that deserves to go further, faster? I want that. And so to help things move along further, faster, I'm going to tell you, we came up with a plan. I came up with a plan for you. And I hope that you adopt this as your plan. Here's the plan. We're calling it the 90-Day Automation Challenge. 90-Day Automation Challenge. And we want to challenge you to automate your giving for 90 days. Just try it. Just try it. Just set it up where it regularly happens, right? Every 2 weeks or once a month, however you want to do it. For 90 days, automate your giving. Just try it. And then here's my promise to you. If after 90 days you regret that decision, you're like, that was a bad idea, we'll give you back everything you gave. No questions. Not one question. And not, are you sure? You sure you want it back? We won't do that. Or anything, won't interrogate you, won't make you fill out a thing. We're just like, you want it back, you have it all back, right? No questions, no fuss, no muss. If you think it was a bad decision, we'll give it all back. Listen, here's why the challenge is automation, okay? Here's why. Listen, here's what I've learned, at least in my own life. Automation beats determination every single time. Isn't that true? Automation beats determination every single time. And if you think about it, you actually already do this in so many different parts of your life, especially the things that are important to you, like your retirement. Retirement's important, right? And so you automate it. You automate things that are important. And so you have money that goes to your retirement, and you don't even get to see it, right? Because you know if you see it, you'll spend it. So you're like, just take it away. I'll pretend it doesn't exist. It's just going into this pot, my 401k, whatever. That's my retirement fund. It's important to you, so you automate it, right? For some of you, it's your phone. Your phone is important, so you automate that payment. Like, Lord forbid they ever cut off your phone. You would melt. Just, You automate that bad boy. It's like, no, I pay that one. I'm paying that one, right? You make sure that's taken care of. Listen, some things are so important that you make sure they happen automatically. And we want to be a church full of people who don't let being generous and don't let honoring God with their finances and don't let supporting the mission of the church be optional or left to chance. It's too important to be left to chance. It's too important to be optional. It's too important to be a if I get to it kind of a thing. No, this, like heaven and hell hang in the balance of this. This is about people's lives, about their forever, and about their right now. It matters. So we should automate it. If we should automate anything, we should automate this. Now listen, I wouldn't ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. In fact, our entire pastoral staff, we're all taking the challenge with you. Like, we're all going to do it together. That said, like, full disclosure, I'll be honest and tell you that this challenge for Tiffany and I, it's not much of a challenge. You know why? It's because for the past 16 years that we've been married, we've done this. For the past 16 years we've been married, we've given at least 10% of our income to support our church. And we've actually increased that percentage over time. We've done that. And I don't say that to brag. I'm not bragging. Trust me, I'm not bragging. Trust me. I say that because I want you to know that we've got skin in the game too. I say that because I want you to know that we're committed to this too. And it's not just because we want to set an example. That's not why we give. Trust me, has nothing to do with setting an example. The reason why we give to support the church is because we believe in what happens in the church. Because it's worth it. Because we think there's no better investment we can make with our money than what happens in this kind of a place every single week. It's the best investment we can make. And so we make it a priority. We automate it. It's the coolest thing in the world to get my little statements throughout the year. I love opening that envelope. I'm like, ooh, let's see how much we gave. Open it up. I'm like, wow. I look at my wife. I'm like, look what we get to be part of. Look what God's doing just because we took a step to be faithful. Wow. I want you to know that joy. I want you to know the joy of being automatically generous, of making that decision, of drawing that line in the sand. So if this is the church that you love, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick a percentage. And it doesn't have to be 10% or whatever percent. It could be 2% or 4% or 6% or 8%. It could be 15%. For some of you, like, you're so wealthy that 10% you wouldn't even feel it. So you should probably give something that you feel. Right? Like, nice to be you. But I want you to pick a percentage, and then I want you to take the challenge with us. And I want you to automate your giving. Take the challenge. And listen, we've given you a safety net. If after 90 days you're like, no, that was a bit, no fuss, no muss. Right? That's cool. We're good. But I want you to at least take a step. I want you to at least go with me because it's worth it and it matters. Here's one more little thing, because here's the deal. I haven't talked about this, but I don't know if there's any stress quite like financial stress. I don't know if there's any pressure quite like financial pressure. It can be tough, right? You've been there? I've been there. And here's the thing about following Jesus. Following Jesus makes your life better, but it also makes you better at life. And so it should come as no surprise that God would actually have a plan for us as it relates to how we should spend our money and how we should manage our money. And we want you to know what that plan is. And one of the best ways that you can learn it is this thing called Financial Peace University, right? Dave Ramsey, their organization. Hey, who's taking Financial Peace? Come on. Yeah, change your life. Yep, absolutely, right? Everybody goes through Financial Peace University is like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I should have done this a long time ago, right? Here's what we're going to do. If you take the 90-day automation challenge, then we're going to pay for your membership. It's $100. We don't get any of that money. We're going to pay for it for you. It covers all the materials, and it covers your lifetime membership to all of that material about how to deal with debt and how to invest, all this kind of stuff, all this financial stuff. We'll pay for that for you as an investment in you. We'll do that for you. We want to do that for you. And here's why. It's because we want something for you, not something from you. We want you to be able to do money well. If you do money God's way, it should be no surprise that you'll experience peace and hope and life and freeness as it relates to money. Isn't that different? Isn't that different? Yeah. So here's what you can do. You can sign up in your connection card, and we'll send you a link this week to help get you started, right? You can do it around the back of the card. Or you can sign up online. Go to epic.church/give, and there's a little box that says 90-day challenge. Click that box, sign up, we'll get the process started, and you'll be able to jump in on that. And I think you'll be better because of it. Hey, one last thing. Super cool. I want to show you a picture. One last picture. Anybody know what this is? No, you don't know what this is. This is Harvest Baptist Church. This picture was taken around 1979, which happens to be around when I was born. Sorry. About 12 years later, 1991, 2-ish, there's a family that moved to the island. And they walked into that church. Sorry, my mom's right there. And that's where I learned about Jesus. That's where I learned about the hope and life that can be found only in him. That's where I learned that he can be the forgiver of my sin and that he wanted to be the leader in my life. And it was right there in that church. The whole trajectory of my life changed. And the whole trajectory of my children's life changed. Because of what I now know and I can give to them. Can I tell you, I am so grateful for the group of people that started meeting on the front porch of a house who said, you know what, let's not keep this to ourselves. We need a bigger space where more people can come and hear this. And so they got a building, and then they got another building, and they got another building. And one day, this little guy walked into one of those buildings and heard about Jesus, and it changed my whole life. I'm so grateful for those people. I don't know their names. I don't know anything about them, but I thank God for them. I can't wait to the day we get to hear the stories of the people whose lives were changed just because we got a plan. How about that? Let me pray for us. God, I thank you so much that you meet us right where we are. God, give us the wisdom to know what to do with what we just heard, the courage to do it. It's in your name we pray.